Well, I want to talk to you today about a woman here, Lisa Manning at Syracuse University, who is being celebrated in the recent issue of Science News as one of the 10 big scientists to keep an eye on. And I'm all for women in science. I mean, Meitner, and the pulsars and all of this. And I was on the committee for women in math and science at Carson Newman College, and a lot of my liberal friends there, and that's what they mostly are, they were surprised to being a conservative when I said, well, no, I'm a science educator, and I want more people in science. And of course, half the people are women, so let's get these people in science. But because they're smart and can think in ways that men can't. Ooh, is that sexist to say? But it's a compliment. Well, look at this here. They're talking about, she's an astronomer, but she started talking about how when she was at Cambridge, well, not at Cambridge, she met a professor at Cambridge who talked about how those little family trees that evolutionists draw, where monkeys are springing off of the lemurs, and the lemurs are springing off of the rats, and the rats spring off from the lizards, and the lizards spring off way back from fish and bacteria and all that, that she said, oh, you can chart family relationships. Yeah. What about stars? When stars explode, the gas clouds that come out of supernovas contain all these elements that should be in the next stars that form when the dust cloud from that star exploding contracts into a new baby star. So she drew this little family tree of stars, and they talk about our star having siblings, and they talk about it being a family. A family. Now, I put here that that's an anthropomorphism. They get all upset about us anthropomorphizing the universe and calling it God, but they're anthropomorphizing it, in other words, turning inanimate objects into sentient, thinking, feeling things and motivated things that have motivations like us. A family is born. Well, just like DNA is handed down through biological systems, chemicals would be handed down by the exploding stars, which make more gas clouds, and all of their elements were in the gas cloud, and then it collects into a new star. That would work if gas clouds could contract into stars, but they can't. Chemistry 101. High school chemistry. And I just check out my previous post about the genes condition and how that's all hypothetical and math fantasies, and no one's ever got any experimental evidence that this can happen. As a matter of fact, all the scientific evidence says, according to the gas laws, stars can't contract from gas clouds by their own gravity. It just can't happen. But there's a move we have in teaching where, even though the kids never got the stuff in chapter 1, you go on to chapter 2 anyway. You just ignore the fact that logically you haven't done your job yet. It's called pressing on. And so sometimes teachers do, the bad, lazy ones do, just press on. And that's not the same thing as motivating kids to absorb the information. But the evolutionary theorists are just pressing on. They press on, just press straight through all of these logical incoherencies and go on anyway, pretending that there wasn't a problem, that the foundation of everything they're building on is totally cracked or non-existent. Well, now, what do they say here? We can use these trees of stars families to teach us about the whole galaxy. It's so exciting. Well, they get these waves of euphoria when somebody stands up and gives them a brand new imagination tool. It's not really saying, now this is a smart lady, but don't forget, smart people can believe dumb things. And she has been inculcated by this entire system here. Look at what it says. It says she's very brave. She's very confident. There's a crisis for women in physics and science. I hope not anymore. The head of the physics department at Yale is a woman, and I'm very proud that she is in the ranks of science, that everyone is allowed. Oh, unless you're a creationist. In that case, it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. You're a creationist. You can't be a scientist. That's what they say. Oh, tell that to Raymond Damadian, who invented the MRI machine. Tell that to John Sanford, who invented the gene gun technique for genetic engineering of trees and plants, other plants. But you can't. They say, no, you're not smart if you're a creationist. But anyway, so she's brave and confident, and that's really cool. Now it says, I just a little liberal note here. They talk about, I don't know, this might be her husband, or maybe they're not married, but they had their first child with her partner. Okay, that's fine if they want to call him partner. It looks like they've been married a long time, so I guess they're monogamous and loyal. But why not call him the husband, or I don't know. I guess they feel like they've got to say partner. You feel quite lonely when you're the only one. Yeah, we creationists feel lonely. She was lonely because in grad school, her and her partner were the only grad students at their school that had kids. And family's great and kids are great, and I'm glad that they had kids. But yeah, it is kind of rough when you feel alone, as we creationists do. But we stand for what we believe in, and we're not hypocrites. I have gotten compliments on occasion from evolution atheists. They think I'm crazy, but they do know that I'm consistent. But what about those Christians that compromise? What about those that say stellar evolution is true? The stars can make themselves. The Bible says in the first chapter, He made the stars also. It does. And in Psalm 100 it says, it is He that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are His people and the sheep of His pastures. But evolution says stars make themselves, and they have little families. And we made ourselves, and that we used to be chemicals floating in the ocean. Then we turned into bacteria and worms and jellyfish and invertebrates of all kinds. And then we turned into amphibians and lizards and possums and monkeys. And then we became humans. All by ourselves. We did it. You see, evolution is worshiping us, saying we made ourselves. God did not. The stars made themselves too, by the way, and they have families, and they made themselves. The universe made itself. God didn't. That's the evo-atheist worldview, and to try and have a wonder about that. The torturous process, well, they say they're brave, that when we were worms, we were very brave to go on to become humans because it hurt, and lots of us had to die, and I don't know. It's a whole mythology. I wish I could respect that. I can respect the people who believe it, but I cannot respect the mythology. There's no science behind it, no logic. It's all forensic in the past stuff. It's all got to be filled in with fantasies to fill in the gaps that science either doesn't provide or science actually says can't happen. The refutation of so many of these steps in their wonderful mechanisms, where real science says, okay, that step can't happen. In reality, you're supposed to stop, rethink everything when you know all the evidence says that step cannot happen. But no, this is not science. It's a religion. It's a religious faith, and I can't, blame people for having a religious faith. But it's when they say, oh no, this isn't a religion. This is empirical science. This is pure logic. I'm a slave to the data. That's what I hear evolution atheists saying to me all the time. Well, that's not really true. They manipulate the data and ignore and ridicule data. Hey, that's why people get fired from UCal Riverside for finding soft tissue in a Triceratops horn. They get fired for discovering truth and data and science. Well, that's what happens when your religion is far more important to you than science facts. Well, no science fact has ever gone against the Bible or the historical narrative that is there. The narratives that the evolutionists make up, these fantasies, much like the Greek god stories, those do have science against them. Oh, scientific theory, scientific opinion may go against the biblical narrative, but never scientific fact. There's not one that does. Well, God bless, and I hope this has encouraged you today. Dr. J.